Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Buddhist Biohacker. My name is Lisa Gunshore, and I am your host as always. And welcome back. We already had a great morning this morning with our global healing meditation at 7 a.m. And then Satyam was on with living yoga at 11. And now we are co creating a new earth with Becky Prater. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for letting me have a platform. I'm loving this.
Oh my gosh, I love having you. I just
Yeah,
do. It's just always so good. So
thank
yeah, welcome.
thank you. Well, so today is going to be interesting. I first wanted to talk about truth and about we have so much coming at us, and it's really hard to know what the truth is. And we've got people that are judging us for our behavior. I'm sure we are probably judging other people's behavior, and you wonder, is there really a truth? Is there like a one universal truth that is there? Like, this is the question. Or are there any, a spectrum of truths based on people's experience? So when I was, when we were working together to like figure out what my series is going to be and where we go with this series, I couldn't believe that what came up was this 3 ways to access inner wisdom, because it's like so basic. I can't believe anybody on this call is going to find it interesting. And I thought, I've been thinking, what in the world are we talking about this for? Because I've been using these tools for years, so have you. So why would it be that this is how I'm starting? And it's because of truth. And because right now we have so much false information. And I think we need to sift through this. And we do this by finding out what resonates in our body. And if we don't know how to figure that out, and if we can't or haven't yet tuned in enough to know when something resonates with us truthfully, then here are some ways that we can figure out how to do that. And so that is kind of where I thought we'd sort of start today, is kind of talk about this. Now, if you're out there and you totally know about these things and these tools to use to access inner wisdom, yay for you. Let this be a reminder. And I'm hoping that we're actually reaching some people that are new to this. It's kind of what I feel like we're doing in a sense. And maybe you haven't used these tools in a while because you didn't think you needed them. But I feel like maybe now, because we've got so much and we're inundated and we're like, oh my God, I've got a headache. I don't know what to do. This is driving me crazy. Who is right? Am I wrong? What's going on? Maybe we can go back to some of these really foundational, fundamental tools to help us clarify for ourselves in the midst of all this. It's madness. It's like media madness. And I feel like it's somewhat social shaming. I feel like I'm social shamed. And I think, I'm just following what I believe to be true. And everybody has this right to honor what's true to them. And it is all different. That's why, we're talking biodiversity in belief systems is just as important, I think. And I do know that there's universal truths. But we're not here to define what those universal truths are.
hmm
That would be a whole different conversation. In fact, that would be really wonderful to do someday. But right now we're trying to figure out, how do you
We'll make a
define the
note.
truth for you? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Add it to our to-do list. It's pretty long.
Yes. Oh my gosh, no doubt. Oh my gosh, that's totally true. So, okay. So here's a couple of things. I was called to do this series of blog posts called Aligning with Your Higher Self. And I started it in 2017. And as I was doing this, I was writing, aligning with your higher self. Most people, probably 99.9% of the planet, has no idea what that even means. And I'm not sure I did either. First, I was like, what the heck are we even talking about? Like, what? So, but I know, because I had an experience where I was in a ceremony and I was talking and communicating with my higher self, and they said, there's no you here. There's only us. There's only us. And we are part of a collective. And so the more you and I, or us, we communicate as a unified entity, really the more we can tap into Christ consciousness and live a happier life and serve our purpose, all those things. And it was really kind of an amazing thing. And I started off, I mean, this is what, 2 years ago. And I'm like, how do you, okay, so I did this once. So how is this a repeat thing? Because, it was involving plant medicine. And okay, that sounds great, but you can't live in a space like that. So you have to figure out how to leave that space and be able to get back to that connection. And so there are some remedial tools for that. Okay, so today we're going to learn how to access inner wisdom and begin aligning with your higher self with kind of I'm going to give you a list, and then we're going to talk about, Lisa knows so much about this because you've done these things for years too. So we're going to talk about it collectively because I want to know how you've used it too. Okay, and here's the thing. As healers, coaches, teachers, it is less our job to heal and teach and more our job to activate your body's ability to heal itself and remind you of information that's already there. That's what we do. It's not like it's new information. Anything I would have to teach is not new information. I'm reminding you of something you already know, probably because you've heard it before. It maybe didn't make any sense before. It didn't apply before, or it's just never been activated in you yet because you haven't had to have it be that. So it's almost like you know things when it's time for you to know things. And that's kind of an amazing thing too. Okay, we are going to actually, so what we're doing is we're tapping into the subconscious, which we sometimes call the imagination, which is also our energy system and a kind of our heart and all this space is connected. And when we can open this up and tap into it, we get information that really blows our mind. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start that process today. Okay. There we go. Okay. So here's some, okay. You know what? I'm trying to think because I've got this PowerPoint presentation and I just don't know if I should. Yeah, I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to show it. And oh yeah, would you allow me to share screen?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I'm going to show it and we'll just move through it fast because
let's do it.
Okay, because I kind of love imagery and I love I really kind of love some of these pictures I got. Okay, so we're trained to look outside of ourselves for the answers. We do this all the time. When you ask somebody a question, it's almost like, oh, I don't know. I see this with students all the time because it's almost like you're not there to teach. We're not there to get their information. We're there to teach them our information. I mean, that's what I think vintage teaching was based on. Maybe not so much anymore because teaching is about matching interest with information to make create some energy and create momentum and bring something out of a person. Like it's facilitating action is really what I think teaching is. But we're really not trained. We're not trained to listen to our gut either. Now and more recently, intuition has been important. But I grew up Catholic, and we were actually encouraged to use an intermediary in all ways in Catholicism. You don't read. I mean, this is. I think that it's different from this now. But when I was growing up, we didn't read the Bible. Like no Catholic person had a Bible that they read. Yeah, isn't that weird? And then in order to have forgiveness, you had to go to a priest and he would have to, you do what do you call it? What is that? Confession. You'd have to do a confession with the priest. Now, it totally makes you feel great. Most of the time we just need to confess to somebody. And I get that. I totally get that. But I used to say Catholic prayers all the time to go to sleep. And one day God said to me, you could just talk to me. And I thought, holy moly, I can't believe I just heard that. And I've never said, okay, I have said the Catholic prayers since, because there was a time recently that I was scared out of my wits, and that's the only thing I can think of to say were Catholic prayers, because it's like one of those things that's like a mantra. But you know, we are allowed to have complete access to our higher self. Our higher self is our connection point to source, and which then gives us the capacity to communicate directly with God through higher self, is what my understanding is of this. So, first I want to talk about asking advice. So here's one way we do it. Because I know that we go to people all the time when we're trying to figure out what our truth is. And I think it's really important, because looking outside ourselves for the answers seems like the same thing. You're asking advice from somebody. What do I do about this? And what happens, you ask, you listen, you check in with yourself and ask yourself, like, how does this information make me feel? Do I agree? Is this right for me? And based on how your body reacts to that advice, you decide. We've all been given advice or readings. I mean, I think I have gotten some readings, card readings, or, you know, astrological readings or whatever, psychic readings. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, things that have been said that I think, no, I'm sure that's not true. But honestly, that's just as important as getting the right information. When your body says, no, 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 that is not true, I disagree, that helps clarify what you need to know and what you believe for yourself. And that's why when you have a good intuitive partner, like somebody you can go to, you know that everything they say, you're like, oh, yes. It's like you couldn't figure it out on your own, and they say it, and you're like, yes, that's exactly it. And it's not that they're giving you that information. They're igniting your truth of that information, that truth inside you that says, oh my gosh, it's exactly right. That's why it's so valuable to have friends that have a similar thinking, or you have like a coach, or you have a I don't know, a team, intuitive team that can help you clarify for yourself. Because so it seems like it's going outside of yourself for the answers, but really it's about somebody helping ignite that. So if somebody asks me, what would you do? This happens with my daughter all the time. She'll ask, what would you do? And I always tell her exactly what I would do, even if I know that's not at all what she'd do. Because my job is not to decide what she's going to do or give her the advice that she's looking for. My job is to answer the question, what would I do in that situation? And she can then decide for herself, would she do that same thing, or would she absolutely not do the same thing? And that is clarifying. And I think that to me is so important. Okay, so according to Michael Beckwith, who is just an amazing leader of the Agape Church in Los Angeles, amazing man. He said there's 4 stages of spiritual development. Number 1 is victim consciousness. Things happen to me. So my life is controlled by external forces rather than self-choice or self-responsibility. And you know, I want to say we could all think of somebody that is exactly this person. Also, we could all think of a time when we were this person. Every one of us, where we were like, oh my God, this happened to me. She was so mean to me. We know we've been in this place before. This is victim consciousness. Okay, number 2, manifest consciousness. To it. I use the laws of manifestation to feel a sense of control over my life. And, you know, we know by the law of attraction that this really works. We bring things to our life through our manifestation practices. And that is amazing too. There's a third one called channel consciousness, where it comes through me. And I am a vehicle for spirit and live from the sense of ultimate surrender. Information comes from source through me. And a lot of us on this call, a lot of us in this community are exactly this. We know that it's almost like you release your idea of it having to be something that came from our own capacity. I mean, you're stepping out of the way when you allow something to come through and you don't say, oh yeah, aren't I great? I created this and I came up with this. Instead, we know that we are a vessel and a vehicle, and it's an amazing thing. So according to Michael, he suggests there's a fourth space called being consciousness. As me, I sense my oneness with source and have no sense of separate self. I experience limitless awareness. And I think this is a beautiful thing. And I think those of us who feel like we commonly channel, there are actually times when we are so fully bringing in spirit that that's in the room and there's no separation. And that is just makes me shiver. I love that idea so much. Well, Annette, what do you think about that? Do you feel like you've been there a lot? You're there a lot, Lisa.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I've been in all four of these places, right? I mean, I think that's where we all are, is we have those glimmers of, different things, whether it's the being consciousness or manifesting or being the victim, and you kind of work your way through all of that. And so it's interesting because for me, I think I've been in the channel consciousness for quite some time as far as being a vehicle for spirit. I mean, that's the work that I do. But the being consciousness is a big part of my own shift this year through this global event. Is I really feel what's happening on a massive scale at a cellular level. And in fact, this has been a rough week. And part of it is I feel the trauma and the wounding of the planet. And I think that's part of that being consciousness, is you suddenly realize that you are that, and everything that everyone is feeling, suddenly you're feeling too. And so it's seeing everything as this one container of the Sacred Heart. I don't even quite know how to articulate it, because
Mhm.
it's been, I don't know if it's a new thing or not, but it's definitely new, and that I'm experiencing it in a very real way most of the time, most of the days currently. So
Mhm. Oh, love that. Okay, so we may oscillate between these stages. Here's Michael Beckwith. He's lovely, loveliest man. We may oscillate between these stages. In one day, we may move from manifesting to channeling to being. We might even move from being to victim all the way through. I
yes.
mean, that's what makes this such a dynamic place to live, and because this is what we do here, it's amazing. And by tapping into our innermost knowing, you are accessing your being space. You're accessing your being space. It's coming through you and you're asking it to come through you. It's like a muscle, and the more you use it, the easier it is to access. Okay, so finding your answers. What do you want to, people have asked you all your life, what do you want to do when you grow up? Some of us are still asking that same question. What will you do now that you've graduated? Your children are gone. You lost your job. What are you doing during COVID? What do you want to do with your life? How do you want to see things differently? We ask about co creating a new earth and what do we want it to look like? And you know what? We just don't spend time in that space. We really don't. We would rather spend time maybe listening, in the media, in the drama of it, distracting ourselves. Like that's a big thing. And so most of us don't know, or we would already be doing it. And that's the thing. I mean, I've spent so much time figuring out what it is, what is missing, where, and then, here, I've heard a million times, the answers, your answers. And, I want to just say, if I knew, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I would already be there. So, oh my God, it's so frustrating, except it's not going to be. We're going to get there today. Okay. So then when you start down this process, and when you're in this awakening space, you actually realize you have all these divination tools. And like in our past, for those people that believe in past lives, we were all killed for using these tools. Numerology, crystal and stones. I mean, this always was looked at as kind of witchy or inappropriate or sacrilegious. But how sad is that we ever had that idea? Because these are all things, most of these are all things that happen every day or that exist on this planet, like crystals and stones. So I just got this like cube, what is the hexahedron or whatever, a cube, and it's out of shungite. And shungite is the thing that absorbs the EMFs. And so with this 5G stuff, the best thing you can do is have shungite around you, and you wear it, and it's kind of an interesting thing because it's sort of the color rubs off. So a really good quality shungite will not rub off, but having that around you, these kind of things are so cool and important. But again, like think about that, numerology is something outside of you, crystals are something outside of you, essential oils are something outside of you, but these are tools that we can use still to energize our chakras, energize space, provide protection. It's so cool. And when you take a dive into understanding this stuff, it is just amazing. I sell malas on my website, and I have like 50 of them hanging, and I every day look, okay, which of the malas do I want to wear? And sometimes it has to do with the color of clothing I wear. And, you know, I've had people say, well, it shouldn't have anything to do with the color of clothing you wear. But the color of clothing you choose in the morning oftentimes is what you need for that day to support your day and what you have coming up. So, so we can even use clothing and color of clothing to support our system as what you might call a divination tool. Okay, essential oils, we know about those too, that, you know, different oils support different things. You know, lavender helps us relax. So huge, huge thing to use. Watching for signs and signals. So when I talk about people manifesting things, or in my feng shui manifestation, life beyond a future beyond your imagination, I always say the important thing is once you put these things in place, it's important for you to watch for signs and signals so you know you're heading in the right direction, or you know when you need to change direction. You know, I don't know, Lisa, what are some of the signs and signals that you see and have happened to you that make you think, oh my gosh, that's such and such, or somebody, or whatever? What do you see?
I would say, so numbers are a big one, right? The repetitive numbers, 1111, 333, 444, 555, 666. I mean, name it, like the repetitive numbers are certainly one. I'd say my next big one is animals for sure. I mean, I actually had a cricket wandering around in my office today, which is kind of bizarre. But when I looked it up, it was a great meaning. But I always look at, you know, I'm always connecting in with the animal, and also, you know, noticing what they're doing, and then looking up the animal totem, because I think they have so many messages for us. So those are my big ones. What are your big ones?
You know, I would say I do a lot of mala wearing. I have the stones that I gather around me. I have a particular set of moonstone earrings. I'm not wearing them, but that when I'm about to go into a situation with people that I know are not very nice to me on a typical basis, why would I be going into this? I don't know why you choose to be in a situation like that, but I find myself, you know, when people are kind of judgy, I wear these particular moonstone earrings. So I do a lot of that because I've made jewelry in the past, and I do the malas. I do a lot of sound clearing with, you know, the different water bells. I think I've shown you, or they're just different element bells. These.
Mm-hmm.
So I use a lot of that, but signs and signals always happen to me. I see it all the time. Numbers all the time. Animals, yes. Like I was surrounded by Canadian geese today when I was out paddleboarding, and I've never had them come so close, and they were just totally surrounding us. And it made me think, oh, they're looking for food. And then I thought, well, whatever, I'm going to find out. And I haven't found out. What was the cricket? What did the cricket say?
Well, cricket's like really auspicious. It's actually a really good fortune. And it says it means you're at the right place at the right time, which I thought was pretty nice. I needed to hear that. It's been a crazy week. And so, yeah, so that was what the cricket was.
Oh, that's so good. All right. So a couple others, opening a book to a random page. I think that's always a fun thing too, because every time I've done it, I mean, I haven't done it that much, but every time I've done it, I've been like, whoa, that is incredible. It's exactly what I needed to read.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay. Noticing animal messages. Yes. With an animal spirit deck. Oh, actually, hold on. Okay, I'm going to bring these about because we're going to talk about them, but here's the animal spirit deck that I have, and it's Kim Cran's, and it's just one of my favorite, and she just is the information is just so amazing. So usually I look at the animal, whatever I see, I look at it through her deck because I just love that. And it always amazes me. I think that's such an important thing. Stream of conscious writing. So a guy named Mike Dooley was, have you ever heard of Mike Dooley?
Yeah, from tut.com.
Yeah, love that man. I read his little notes from the universe every day. I love him. And he said at one point, he got started because he would write something in his journal and then he would then answer himself or react to it in his journal. And I realized I've done that my whole life. And I didn't really realize what I was doing. But when he said that, it triggered in me the idea that, wow, I mean, what I do is I go in and I might like say something nasty about something or throw down a judgment, and then my higher self comes in and answers it. Well, Becky, had you considered this? I mean, I've been doing that my whole life. So that is a way to tap in. If you will, if you can, not everybody's a writer though, and not everybody can do that, but I've been doing that because I've been writing my whole life. Okay, so some of these are outside of ourselves, but as you work your way down, it's not necessarily so much that. It's more about energy, watching for signs. Those things are triggered in us, or it's more connected to us specifically. But the last three are ones I probably use the most, and I've just started doing pendulums for sure. I had never done that before, and I started, and I feel like a person can get pretty reliant on it until you start noticing what the feeling is in your body, that's the same as what's going on the outside that you're physically seeing. So today we're going to specifically talk about pendulums, tarot and oracle cards, and then dreams, imagination, and tapping the subconscious. And we're going to end with doing a meditation that taps our subconscious. And if you can kind of, I'll give you a link to that same meditation that you can do over and over until you figure it out yourself and can use it on a regular basis on your very own self. Okay, so the pendulum. So here, okay, so this is a pendulum. And again, most of you know it. Most of you have these. Maybe you have them and you used to use one and you don't anymore because you don't need it. But I'm telling you, sometimes when things are crazy, it's a good thing to access. And what I've done is used it as I'm trying to figure out my meditations. If I get too frustrated, I might ask a question, is this a good time for me to meditate? Rather than just getting frustrated because I can't sift through my own thoughts. Or what's happening is I'm falling asleep in meditation, which I hate. My head bobs and I'm like, oh, and you know what? It's so essential. Those meditation moments are so essential for you. They're purposeful. Everything about them is for your highest good. But I still can't stand it when that happens. So when I start doing that, I'm pulling up my pendulum and I'm saying, should I be meditating right now? And some look, it says no. So it's saying no because I'm on a call. I'm doing a workshop. But it's been helpful because it kind of just, it gets my mind out of the way and allows me to answer my own questions just through my energy. And that's what's important. So I wanted to just give you like a little synopsis or tell the audience about how we use these. So you can buy them. There's a million different places to buy them, but I feel like it's best to buy one that you can actually test out. And so you kind of hold it in your hand and ask it if it'll work with you and see how it moves. Okay, so first of all, I press it to my heart and ask it to work with me for my highest good. And then you're gonna hold it like this, just very simply as with the longest possible. And I hold it in, and I'm sure there's people that do this totally different for me, but this works for me. I hold it in my palm, allow it to hover over my palm, make sure your arms and your legs are uncrossed. And then I ask it to show me a yes. And mine, as a yes, moves forward and backward every time, no question. No matter what pendulum I use, it does that, goes back and forth, no question. Then I'll say, show me a no. And it goes in a circle. It's like a perfect circle, and it's that's counterclockwise, absolutely counterclockwise. And then I ask to show me a neutral. And it gets like so still. That's kind of funny, like so still, as still as it can be, because my hand shakes a little bit sometimes. Well, not really, but just normal movement. Okay, so that gives you your kind of 3 different answers. This is really for a person that's trying to figure out a yes or a no question, sort of. Okay, so it can go backwards, forwards, sideways, clockwise, or counterclockwise. Those are the 4 ways. And when you learn how your pendulum works, it does the same thing each time. Like it will never really vary, but every once in a while you want to say, show me a yes, show me a no, show me a neutral, so that you can start. Okay, so then you want to start by asking simple questions. So I'm going to ask, my name is Becky. And we'll see what it says. My name is Becky. Right away, it's like forward and backwards, which is a yes. I'm going to ask it, I am a man. Or am I a man? Oh, it's shaking. There we go. So there's so it's a very definite no, because it's going counterclockwise. So you're going to want to ask questions that you know the answer to check yourself to see if the answer resonates with you. The pendulum is able to access the subconscious energy of the mind and the heart to present your answer. Answers are not coming from outside of you. It's your energy making the answers happen. So, you know, most of the time you get these at like bookstores, metaphysical bookstores. And I can just imagine like so many people saying, I can't walk into a place like that. It's all sacrilegious, you know, because I grew up with a whole bunch of Catholic people. But it's really like, why would that be? It's this beautiful tool. And they're made up of mostly semi-precious stones. So it's just pretty cool. You want to buy a pendulum in person so that you can see if the pendulum responds to you or not. Most are made from semi-precious stones. Different stones work differently for different people. And pendulums should be used by only one person because it attunes to you. So I might be able to, I have a couple of times asked questions for other people, like, should Lisa go paddleboarding with me in the next couple of days? Oh, and it says yes. So see, sometimes we get answers for other people, but it's mostly, this is a tool for us to use for ourselves. Pendulums can be used in a lot of ways. Like when you're doing Reiki and you're doing energy work on people, it can show where you're blocked. I mean, there's lots of uses for pendulums. What do you know about that, Lisa? What are some of the ways that you've used them?
Well, that's a great question. I have a pendulum. I don't really use it that often. I've not been a big pendulum user, but the pendulum I have, I was thinking, let me get it. I got to like move with my microphone though. So this is mine. Mine is actually something you'd hang in your window. It's actually not... let's see if I can get it in the light there, but it's actually
circular.
Yeah, it is. It is like a crystal you'd hang in the window, but I use it as my pendulum. See, it's already excited. I'm touching it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my pendulum that I use. It's got a little fairy wing, like dragonfly wings on it.
Oh.
So I usually hold it by my dragon wings and use it. So that's what I do. And I'm trying to think of what I use it for. Really, I used to use it a lot when I was doing readings and I would want to check something like over my cards. So I would actually use it to read my cards. So for example, if I looked at my cards and the answer was ambiguous or kind of gray, I would use my pendulum over those cards to say, okay, is this, you know, what I think it is? Is it not? You know, is this 8 weeks or is this 8 days? Like, what is this? And so I would ask those kinds of questions. So that's how I use my pendulum. Every once in a while, I'll pull it out and ask some questions. But again, it's just not my big thing. But I do have one, and this is the only one I use. And it's the only one I've used for many, many years now, actually, is this one. So, you know, if you don't get a crystal pendulum, you can absolutely use anything. And there are actually a lot of people who will take their rings, like their wedding ring, and pull out a hair, and you slide your hair through the ring and hold it up, and you can make your own pendulum in that way, with your own hair, which is actually, and your rings, which is actually a really great way to do it too, and really a total French gypsy thing you can do, because it's directly connected to your body then and to your energy field. So you can do that as well. So I've seen a lot of people do that. If they suddenly want to ask a question of something, they'll just pull out one of their hairs and use it with a ring.
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, I was thinking about this too, like why this has been so helpful for me lately. When you do the work that I've been doing, that I'm helping people pass, transmuting dark energies, this work that I'm doing, there's no way to know if it's working. There's no way to know if I'm helping somebody, it's not like we're doing it so we can get kudos or we can know that we're great. It's not that. But like, I want to know, is it working so that I keep doing it, or is there something way I can do it better? And I've used this to find out, did I really just do that? Is somebody being helped by this? And thankfully I've gotten some feedback, because we in this world, in this three-dimensional world, count on feedback to help us understand how to move forward. And if something's not working, and if I'm, maybe compromising somebody, or I'm doing something that shouldn't happen, I want to know about it, because I don't want to keep doing it. So it's been really helpful for me to help, to help clarify what it is I'm doing, or make sure it's right.
Yeah, we've got some really great comments out here and questions. We have a comment that says, I think always knowing that something is missing is what guides you to continue forward in your path. So maybe not what is missing, but okay, what is next, with excitement,
Oh, love
curiosity.
that. Oh my God, that's totally true. Yes. See, and that's been my challenge, because I've spent a lot of time in, what am I missing? What am I missing? And it's been interesting, because lately I know it's what is next, what is next. When show me when it's right. Show me when the time is right. That is
Yeah,
such a good comment. I love that. Thank you.
me too. We also have, I'm new at this. How do I know information is from my subconscious or higher self and not my head?
Um, I think there's an element of trust. And when we do this final thing, this final meditation, you have to just trust that the information is coming to you, that needs to come to you in this way, because we're so eager to sweep it under the rug and say, oh, I just made that up. But the more you do it, the more you realize the stuff that comes, you can't even make it up. Yeah, I guess that's when the difference is, when stuff comes that you're like, I can't even make this up. The other day I was in meditation, and because I want to say I've doubted a lot in my life in this, because I think, how can this even be true? Even though, of course, I trust that it is, I still am amazed. I was doing this meditation, and it was about unwrapping or unlocking 5 gifts. So I was working with the Eye of Ra, and he was helping me unlock these 5 gifts. And one of the gifts, the last one, was something called forgiveness for suicide. And it was so far beyond what I would ever think in my head, that it was one of those moments where I was like, this has to be real, in the sense that we're calling real, because it's so, I could not have made it up. I couldn't have made it up. So when we call today, we're going to call in energy and have our body show us, somehow present energy to us through our imagination and subconscious. The more we do it, the crazier the answers, and you can't make it up. So it is totally natural to wonder, am I making this up? Is this real, or is it not? I'm not. Just allow it to be, and just go with it no matter what it is. That's what I would say. What would you say about that, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is just a knowing with it, and it takes practice. So don't worry about analyzing, is this my higher self or is this not my higher self? Instead, just be with the energy of whatever you're asking or looking at or feeling, and you're going to feel it in your heart center. And when it comes from that place of your sacred heart, that is also your higher self. And you just know that that is good information. Also, it will be true or right later, and or it will have very positive results. So if you're operating from that place of higher self, you may in fact, you know, things will just happen. Things will be accurate, but also things will happen in a positive way. You know, if you take action on what your higher self tells you to do, it's like, oh, I was supposed to do that thing. I was supposed to go to that meetup because I met this person, and now we're gonna go do this project together. Or I was supposed to text message my mom because I was thinking of her and she was needing me. So there's usually an affirmation that comes on the other side of it,
Mhm.
I think. And that gives you some indication too. And like if you look back and you're like, oh man, like I knew like that was totally my ego wanting that guy to call me, that's like that is when I would pendulum back in the day, is like, oh, it's going to happen with this person,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, oh yeah, I knew that wasn't right. You start to feel like what's really like your ego wanting something versus the information. And somebody else wrote that theirs is the opposite for yes and no. And that's totally can be the case. And it's the same thing with tarot cards. It's what you read as it to be. It is not, there's no right answer or
Yeah.
wrong answer. And then somebody else said, I really needed that pendulum training. She said, now where is it? To laugh out loud, reach pendulum. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Becky. So
Oh, thank you so much. Because I was like, oh, who's going to want to know this? Thank you for saying that. Oh, it makes me feel so much better. Hey, so you know what? I mentioned it's about yes or no questions and neutral, but I have used it for all. I found a million different ways to use it. So sometimes I'll write out, okay, do I do this, this, or this? And then I see which one it points to, because it will go to which one is in your highest interest if you ask it to do that. I've also done it where I'll say first, I'll inform it, say, I'm going to ask you which of these two options is in my best interest: stay at home and read, or walk with my friends. Then I ask, is it in my best interest to stay at home and read? I see what the answer is. Then I say, is it in my best interest to walk with friends? And you can imagine that it would probably say yes for both of those things, but it almost never does. It almost always gives me an answer. And sometimes I'll listen. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I really should. I really do want to go walk with my friends. And we, of course, have free will, even if our higher self or whatever is giving us these answers that's related to our own energy knows what's best for us. Sometimes we make different decisions, and it almost, that's important. It's just information. That's what free will is all about, and that's really cool. It's cool that we can do that. I also know that you would know if the answer you got didn't resonate. Like, if I've never had it happen where it gave me an answer. Most of the time, if it answers in a way different than I want, it's not because it I know better. It's I didn't want to hear that answer. Oh, hey, and the other thing is, I I used it for COVID. I kept asking, do I have COVID? Do I have COVID? And I thought I did at one point because I had a fever and diarrhea, and I had just seen my parents, and I was so messed up about it because I've done, you know what? I'm just proud of myself. I'm keeping myself safe. I'm wearing my mask because I think it's kind of funny and I've got a cute one. And I wash my hands and I'm trying to be responsible. I'm just doing what I think is right. So I'm all proud of myself. And so then the idea that I got I might have it made me sick, because I thought, now come on, I have been careful. I've been doing all the right things. So I kept doing my pendulum, but I still went and got a test because I thought I better know. I better know for sure. Well, I didn't have it. And it constantly said, no, you don't have it. No, you don't have it. So, okay. So the second thing we're going to talk about, tarot cards or oracle cards. So you know what? It's long steeped in like mysticism, these tarot cards. Originally, okay, the original tarot deck was created, or tarot cards became popular in northern Italy during the 14th and 15th century. The oldest surviving deck is known as the Visconti Sforza deck, which that's what it looks like at the top. It was created around 1440. It was actually a bridge-like game. It was for leisure. It was a game. So it wasn't until the 18th century that this guy, Antoine Court de Gobelin, whatever, wrote a popular book linking cards to ancient Egyptian lore, arguing that tarot symbols contain the secret wisdom of the god called Thoth. He was a pastor and he wrote a book about it. And so I didn't get a sense that this was something he was like killed over or anything. I just thought, how interesting that it was a pastor that wrote a book about that and about the ancient, connection to ancient lore. So it was really only late 18th century that it became something considered maybe sacrilegious to, Christians. One of the oldest deck, the Smith-Waite Rider deck, originally published in 1910, is one of the most popular tarot decks. And I know you have that, don't you, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. And when my grandma passed away, I found that deck in her drawer, and she was like the most Catholic person I had ever met in my life. And I was so proud of my grandma. Like, okay, yes, she had one of these too. So it's been used for divination in the English speaking world for years. So it's still available, and you can actually download an app and you can pull a card on your app based on this deck, which I think is really cool. So my favorite ones are Kim Cran's. I had showed you the Animal Spirit deck. Her newest one is Archetypes Deck and Guidebook. And this one to me is, that woman is a channeler for sure. Everything she writes about just blows my mind. It is so right and accurate and heartfelt and comes from a place of kind of infinite wisdom, in my opinion. And I love it so much. So these cards work with your energy to provide information from your subconscious and your heart energy. So it's about you. It's you. It's from you. It's not from anything other than that. It's your energy. It's you putting your energy into the cards. And there's a million different ways to use them, and we'll share that in a sec. But I believe that you need to start with the cards, and everybody has a different way of doing this. I know that the person oftentimes that owns the cards, they say, don't let anybody else touch the cards. But I feel like the way to do this is that you have to put your energy into the cards. They need to be cleared between people, but you need to put your energy into the cards, shuffle, and I shuffle until cards fly out. And okay, so we're gonna just have a card fly out and see what happens. And sometimes I have to shuffle a long time. Oh my God, okay. The card that flew out is Sirens. That's the one that flew out for us. Okay, so the best is to note your first reaction to the card. Note your first reaction to the card and give yourself a chance to sit with the meaning of it just based on the first you see of it, what it means. What it means to you. Yeah.
I think this is a great exercise, with everybody that's watching and listening, is why don't you hold the picture up, Becky, and we'll have everybody look at it. And then let's see, I might have to pin you up. Hold on, let me pin your video.
Oh yeah, good.
Okay, there we go. I made you big for just a minute. So everybody look at the card, because there's a lot of you guys watching, and I love this, and do exactly what Becky's talking about, which is just get your initial impressions. And why don't you guys put it in the chat box? So throw them all out in the chat box. Like, what's your initial impression, words, colors, any of those things. We might have to stop sharing your screen, Becky, so we can make it big.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Okay.
We got this, you guys.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Do you need to pin me again, or am I pinned?
I think you're pinned, but let me make sure. Yeah, you're pinned. Okay, so hopefully that increased the size for you guys. And as you look at this, get your initial impressions and throw them into the chat box. And
also ask yourself what the idea of sirens mean. What does that mean to you? Because we all have some experience with that archetype. And what does that mean?
Yep. And just throw them in the chat box.
And we want to do this before we read the description of it, because it's really important to have that first. So this is where you're tapping into yourself. You're tapping into what this means for you specifically, because there's nobody out there that needs to tell you what you know. You need to define for yourself. So the first step is this idea of what it means for you based on your first reaction.
So we have one reaction coming in, and I know there's a slight delay on here, so keep throwing them out, you guys. But somebody said it's Mother Mary's colors rising like the phoenix.
Oh, that's so great.
I love that. Somebody else says diving deep into emotions.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yes, I love these.
Look at that. It's root chakra too. So that's where it's exactly just plunge deep.
Yeah. And then they say sirens is that wise woman unleashed in great service. Oh my gosh, you guys, these are so good.
Oh my God.
Keep coming. Keep sharing what you guys are seeing. We'll keep going, but keep sharing on the chat because I'll keep sharing what you guys are writing.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So I'll read this. Okay. The temptress, the seducer, the femme fatale. The siren calls and the world spins. What we thought we wanted pales in comparison to the sweet allure of her song. We find ourselves lost in the spell of desire and longing, perhaps even lust. Whether the thing calling to us is ultimately good or bad is somewhat irrelevant. It's the journey that matters, and the work of the siren is to take us on a deep psychic descent. Following her song, we go down, down, down to the place where lessons are learned and courage must be rallied to find our way back to dry land. Try as we might, resisting the call may not even be an option. Unless, like Odysseus, we bind our hand to the mast of our ship. It's likely, though, that falling for her call is the only way we will come to live more fully on the surface.
So it's very poignant right now. We got somebody else wrote raspberry sherbet color raises joy.
Oh gosh, that's good. That is so good. Well, you know, Kim Crayons, the creator of this deck, I think is so beautiful and eloquent, and I'm just amazed. But the thing about it, you guys, is what I just read resonated with every one of you in a different way. You all heard something different out of it. And I would like to know what you heard that made you say, oh yeah, that's exactly what it's saying to me. Because, you know, there's a lot of information in there. There's a lot of perspectives, and you might resonate with all of it, but it might just be one thing that you were like, oh my gosh. And for me, the part about whether the thing calling us ultimately good or bad is somewhat irrelevant. Because you know what, I know right now that a lot of good is coming in a very ugly package.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very ugly package. And we just need to allow and trust and hold the light so we can make sure that the light dominates in the end. All right, does anybody have any impression of that card besides just that one?
Those are what we've got so far.
Okay, well, I loved it. I love that you guys gave that information. So what's cool? Okay, wait, hold on.
Oh yeah, go back to share your screen.
Yeah, okay, let me see. I forgot to share the screen part. Okay. All right, because there's lots of ways. And I want to show you the different ways that we can use these. You guys, it's so funny because I just love them. I feel like you know, when all else fails and I'm just like beat down and I feel like I don't have any energy and I'm so sad or upset about something, I can use these. I can use these and help clarify my own answers and my own situation. Okay, I wanted to say too, when somebody's doing this for you, I've noticed when I'm having it done for me, I like it best when somebody says to me, after they read that description, they say, what do you think of that? Because I've had people jump in and say what they think of that for me. And I feel like that is doing a disservice to me, who's having my cards read by a friend. What we need to do is ask, if it's your reading, you need to be the one who says, what does this mean for me? Before anybody else chimes in. Now, Lisa is so skilled at this. You're going to have to, we'll talk about that in just a second because you won't believe what Lisa can do. Oh my God, it blows me away. Okay, so you can do a card for the day, one card for the day, pull that every day to start your day. And one of the things that's recommended in this particular book is to hang on to that card and carry it with you throughout the day and remind you of what the archetype is for the day or what the message is for the day. Just kind of see how it can help you throughout the day. I thought that was awesome. You can do 3 cards where you do past, present, future, or root chakra, heart chakra, crown chakra. Like that could be helpful. You could do a 4 cards of who, where, with what, and why, and have it give you information. The other 4 cards, they're in each deck, in every tarot deck, it's either based on fire, earth, air, water. That's the animal spirit deck, is those categories, those 4 categories. A tarot deck is like wands, swords, pentacles, and cups, those 4 things. I would imagine, Lisa, when you were talking about your deck and creating your deck, was it the 4 directions, or what were your 4 things originally?
For which one? Just the deck that we're working on?
Yeah.
So that is a tough question to answer because
originally though, like before you modified it to be something different.
Originally it was the 5 elements.
Oh, okay, the 5 elements.
Yes. Okay. So earth, air, water, fire, and space.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Because then so the arcana, major arcana would be the 5th group, right?
Yeah, okay. We have somebody commenting, let's see, yin and yang, fish dives deep. I think that was about that card.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have someone who says she does 3 archangels daily is her card.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. I love that. So the 4 card, like if you did like a 5 card spread, you could do that where you pull 1 from the earth, 1 from the water, 1 from the air, 1 from, you could do something like that to get kind of all direction or, all the different elements in there. Here's another 5 card spread. When we talk about the Celtic cross, which I think is what I've seen you do and I've done a lot of, but here's just the first part of that where you have the self in the center, underworld or shadow world, kind of heaven guides, past and future. So that is 1 card spread you can do. I mean, there's a bunch. Here's another one. Here is what they call the Celtic cross. And I looked at this because I have mine are somewhat different than this, the meanings behind these, but this is the closest to what I use. And each of these cards has this meaning. But if you Google images of this exact thing, almost every single one of them has a variation in what these cards mean. So how do you know how to use them? You know what, honestly, whatever they mean to you is how they turn out. And that is so cool. But in every instance, the number 1 card, heart of the matter, 2, how it affects that is always the same. The past is always the same. The future, overall outcome, guidance and warning, those are all the same. What varies is number 3 and number 5. They're always a little bit different from each other. And number 7 and number 8, always a little different. And that's okay. Pick an idea, pick a plan. I think this is a good one, but this is really the closest to what I do. But it can be whatever you want it to be. And then you read and interpret these cards based on what you know to be true about yourself. And it gives you so much information because you're just looking in yourself. You're doing a deep dive into your own self for the answers. Lisa, how do you do this? Because I see you do it, throwing down a spread, you come up with an answer and you sweep the cards off and like somehow the whole thing creates a picture that's really instantaneous for you.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I'm looking at their meanings here, and it's kind of funny because it's Tarot Tuesday. So I teach a Tarot class every other Tuesday night. So today is that day. So it's kind of a synchronistic topic because I'm teaching this tonight, the Celtic cross, in my class.
That's so cool.
So one thing I would say is card number 5, when you look at that, card number 5 for me is the best probable outcome or the highest potential timeline. And then 10 is the current overall outcome. So it's the current trajectory. And so I look at number 5 and number 10 at the same time. They're telling me the same information. So for example, if you're asking about a job, we'll use that as an example. If you're asking if you're going to get a job, um, and number 5 is a really positive card saying that yes, the best potential, the highest probable outcome, or the highest potential timeline is positive. But then the overall outcome, which would be number 10, which is really your current trajectory, says that there's delay. Let's say it's delay or it's not as strong. Then that tells me that they have some work to do to get that job. It tells me it's not a no, but you have work to do to make it happen. And vice versa. Let's say you're asking about a relationship and the lovers is your answer for number 10, which by the way, really isn't the answer you want for a relationship, but that's like a whole other class. But let's say it's the lovers, it's like, relationship at the number 10. But let's say number 5 is the tower, then, or a negative card if you're not familiar with the tarot, then what that tells me is even though your current trajectory is to have a relationship that the best potential timeline is still collapse or negative, then I might say, the probability of you having the relationship is there, but it may not last or it may not be good. So I mean, there's a lot I do differently with all of these cards, but those are probably the 2 biggest ones to talk about today, is just that there's a difference in the number 5 and the number 10 are really giving you the same information, but just enough different that you can see. So that's oftentimes why I throw them and pull them so fast, because I'm really just wanting to see like what's for your highest and best good and where are you headed, because we want to get you to the right place. And those 2 cards tell you a lot.
Whoa, that's so cool. Gosh, thank you for sharing about this. Yeah, because none of the ones I looked at were a representation of how I use it exactly either. But you know what? Again, it doesn't matter. It seems to me like if you were to take this format and use it for yourself, you would get great answers based on what these meanings are.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much, I mean, there is, I am, I don't even know what the word to say is. I'm tarot obsessed in that I have done a lot of research on tarot. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. I am a loyalist French gypsy Rider-Waite tarot gal, and I can tell you that there are extensive books on the Celtic cross. So it's so complex. The Celtic cross is so complex that not only are there many different variations, but there are many different ways to read it. There are old ways, new ways, all sorts of ways. So, again, just like you're saying, Becky, it's about what you think it means. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what the cards mean to you. It's what the spreads mean to you. That's what it means.
Yeah. Yes. And it's when you're reading these things, it's when you're looking at the card, it's what comes through you as the keys there. What are they unlocking in you? The description, what does that unlock in you? How does that match with what the theme of the card is? And that it's just never wrong, because it's somehow cultivating or bringing up the information through your own system. And that's why I think it's just so helpful. It's not coming from outside of you. It's coming from inside of you,
Yes.
unless somebody's doing an interpretation for you. And you have to just be really careful that person is really good at it, because you can also get some, I don't know, you'll know if they're wrong too. I mean, that's not bad too, because somebody tells you something that is just not at all, that doesn't resonate with you. That's just as important, because okay, that's good information. I know that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that happen. Not very often, because I choose my people wisely, but there have been times like the Denver County Fair had people like, it became like all sort of mystical for a while.
Yeah.
And I was there and had a card reading by somebody, and it was so off. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I paid for that. But it was okay because it was clarifying. I was like, well, I know that that's not true. And there was something about that that made me feel good because it made me think, hey, I know the difference.
Yeah.
I know the difference. And that was really important to me. Okay, accessing inner wisdom uses the subconscious to bring about your answers. This is what we're going to do next. There's no way to screw this up, but you're going to allow your linear mind to take a back seat in this process. So this is an accessing inner wisdom meditation. I hope we have enough time. We are kind of getting long, but I do want to do this. Do you feel like we have enough time for this?
Yeah, I'm okay with us doing this.
Okay. Okay. So it will take us about maybe 10 minutes, and I am going to have you. It's not like it's a process that's a little less like a meditation. I'm walking you through. Okay, I'm going to actually get out of here. There's my information, but let me unshare my screen. And okay, all right. So this is meditative. I'm going to have you shut your eyes and get yourself really comfortable. It'll take about 10 minutes. I'm going to be speaking, and very specifically, I'm not going to leave you at any time. I'm going to be talking through this whole thing and allowing your imagination to come up and give you answers in this process. Taking a few deep breaths. I want you to feel yourself settling into your seat. Your body's relaxing. Your muscles are releasing. This process that we are doing today allows your body, your mind, your subconscious to actually speak because you are being still, just like in meditation. But we are actively calling on the subconscious to work with us. We are actively communicating with our body to work with us to give us the information that we're looking for today. We are going to be working on identifying a block, and then releasing that block by communicating with it and understanding it. That's what we're going to be doing. So feel your awareness sink all the way down into the core of your body. You might have to wiggle around a little bit. Just allow yourself to just drop your awareness in, settle further and further into your seat. Get really, really comfortable. Breathing through your nose, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Take a couple of deep breaths, more deep breaths. Make sure your legs are uncrossed and your arms are uncrossed. As this is happening and you're settling in further, relaxing more fully, allow your analytical mind to take a back seat in this process. Letting your emotions, imagination, and body do the communicating and processing. Your imagination communicates through images, sensations, knowingness, sounds, and voices. You may see objects, people, or animals as a method of communication. It is all perfect. There's no need to edit. It's all perfect. Now that you're settled and relaxed, allow your awareness to drop down into your body, and your imagination brings forth the place in your body that holds the information of your greatest block. This could be a pain, a tingle, a sensation, a light, or an intense feeling somewhere in your body. It could be near your body as well. Whatever is calling your attention is exactly right for you. There's no way to do this wrong, so you can easily release the need to filter or edit. Go ahead and allow your imagination to call in a virtual resource or mentor to be with you today, who's specifically capable of working with this blocked energy that you've just acknowledged. This mentor or resource pops in just like that. This being is incredibly powerful, providing safety, wisdom, and love. The mentor can be anything or anyone, a deity of your faith, a spirit guide, an angel. It could be a person you know, living or deceased, a friend, it could be an animal. Whatever shows up for you, allow this loving and safe presence to be with you today to provide safety and guidance. Notice where this mentor is in relationship to you, in front of you, above you, beside you. If you feel like they're too far away, call them in closer. If you do not know the name of this being, ask what they would like to be called and sense the response. Now move your awareness into the virtual resource. No, sorry. Now that you have the virtual resource there with you, I want you to check back into the energy that presented itself as your greatest block. Notice that in your body. Notice it where it is. Notice it. Sensing the place in your body that is calling your attention. Your imagination brings up an image that represents that feeling. This image is going to present itself as a means to understand what that energy is, what that block is in your body. It may be an image of an object, a person, an animal, or something completely different. As you're looking at this image or this person or this object, internally speak to it or them. Or if you're by yourself, you can go ahead and speak that out loud. I'll present a statement and then you complete the statement. What it feels like to have you here is. And what I want to tell you is. What I want you to understand is. You are speaking to the block. What I know about me is. What I really need from you right now is. And anything else that you want to speak to the block, go ahead and speak it now. And how it feels to say this to you is. When that feels complete, knowing your virtual resource is there to support you in this endeavor, move your awareness into the image. Sense all that was expressed as a stream of colored energy moving from you toward the object or person. Notice the color and the quality of the energy and where it's entering the image. And once this image has fully received what you just expressed, notice how it feels for the image to have received this information. Now, looking out of the eyes or the essence of the image back to yourself, speak out loud or in your mind as the image to yourself, as the image of your greatest block. What I received from you, what I hear you saying is. How it feels to receive this is. What you need to know about me as your greatest block is what I'm here to teach you is what I can see from here that you cannot see is what's important for you to remember is and anything else that needs to be spoken by the image back to yourself, go ahead and allow that. And how it feels to say this to you is when that feels complete, move your awareness back to yourself and notice the stream of colored energy coming from the image back toward you. What is the color and the quality of the energy that was communicated by your greatest block? If you feel like it needs to be filtered in any way, your virtual resource will filter the energy before it enters your body. Notice where it's entering your body. Now, speak to the image. What I hear you saying, what I've received from you is, and how it feels to receive this is, what I now know that I did not know before is, how it feels to have this awareness is, and anything else that wants to be said, go ahead and say it now. And how it feels to say this to you is, looking back at the image, notice how the image looks now. With all this new awareness in your virtual resource there to help and support you, do whatever you feel called to do with the block or the image. If you need a tool to do what you feel compelled to do, your resource will hand that to you right now. Notice how that feels in your body. What's it like on the other side of the block? Notice where that feeling is in your body. If it feels right, allow that feeling to spread throughout your entire body, into every cell of your being. Your resources with you, making sure your body is completely clear. Take a moment. When you feel like that positive feeling has expanded throughout your whole body, allow yourself to fully integrate this new feeling throughout your body, into your subconscious, into your awake and conscious mind. As all that integrates, as you sense all your cells aligning and synchronizing with this new awareness, normal feeling returns to your fingers and your toes. You become aware of the space around you. Take all the time you need to feel fully anchored in the room. And when that feels complete, Take a breath and open your eyes. Well, so Lisa, you've done this a couple times. Did you get any blocks?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was a really beautiful release. So that was a really good, very, very good, Becky. Very good meditation.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this is a way you're tapping into yourself, and you're calling your body to answer a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did have a really big question and needed to find the answer, rather than asking for a block, you could ask your body, where does the answer reside in my body? And have it bring up the energy of the answer, and then ask the answer and the energy to become an image that you can understand. And you can use this process over and over and over to find out what's going on with you. It's to me one of the coolest things. When this lady, Dr. Deborah Sandella, taught me this process, all I could think of is, if everybody had the ability to access their inner wisdom in this way and would trust the information, our world would be such a different place, because it really is in us. We just need to find out how to do it. And the more you tap in, if anybody has any comments and had a really good experience, I would love to have you guys share what your experience was. And that'll be our last thing we do. And I'd love to hear. But to me, this is one of the greatest tools, because once you do this, say you went to my website and you downloaded this meditation, I think it's in there as Accessing Inner Wisdom, or RIM, Regenerating Images and Memory, which is what the class is that you take. And the more you do it, eventually you'll be able to. Eventually, your body's going to be like, "Hey, I know you're listening to me. Here's a weird feeling in your elbow," and you'll go into meditation and say, "Okay, I recognize I have this feeling in my elbow." And then you actually start using the words, I am stepping into the energy in my elbow, or energy in my elbow. Please come up with, like, present yourself as an image so I can understand you. What are you here to teach me? What do I need to know? Why are you there? What do I, how can you help me? Move your awareness into it. Have it talk back to you. And this, for the person who said, how do I know if it's my words or my own mind? The answers you get sometimes are so shocking, you can't believe it. Like, you couldn't make it up, because it's so shocking. And that's when you know we're working with an energy and a portal that is precious and really, really valuable to use. And it's not from your mind that you conjure up, because you never would even think those words.
Yeah. Well, we have, thank you, Becky. You're great at this. OMG, I'm crying out something so important for getting my hubby soon. I'm swimming in my father's love with deep red roses. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So,
oh, thank you. That was so sweet. Thank you. Well, so there are my 3 ways of tapping into your inner wisdom. And some of those are, this RIM process, or this accessing inner wisdom thing, is a new thing. I think she's been teaching it for about 10 years. And I think it's really cool. But the whole pendulum thing, oh my God, and tarot cards, so old, steeped in great tradition. And I feel like there's some idea that there's something bad about that stuff. There's just not. I want to say something about Doreen Virtue. Like, she's gone somewhere different from, I don't really get exactly what's going on with her right now, but I love that woman. And I felt like what she did for people is take this real negative energy wrapped around tarot cards and oracle cards, and open it up for regular people to use, and helped us understand how we can use this to further our lives, rather than it being something that we aren't allowed to use because people think we're witchy or hippie or whatever. It seemed like there's so much wrapped around it that was bad. And she just I felt like she was the first person to step in and say, wait, we can use these for some great stuff. And so that's where I started it. I'm kind of super fan of Kim Cran's. Hers make the most sense to me. Which ones do you have? What decks do you have? Like 50?
I only read with Rider-Waite for my clients. I do have some shamanic cards. that I work with. But I'm really primarily tarot if I use cards. I mean, that's the truth of it. So
Okay.
I have a passion for the archetypes of the original tarot and the suits and the major arcana and what they all mean. So
That's very cool. Well, thank you so much for all of you joining us today, for all of you joining us in the future. Thank you so much. And Lisa, this is just so great. I love that you participate with me because that makes it really fun for me to do these too.
oh
Thank
gosh, well, it's a treat, Becky. I mean, you always do have like the greatest activities and things to do. So thank you for being on here and for sharing. And, we had such a great audience today. Thank you guys for
Oh,
participating and
gosh,
connecting
yeah.
in. So wonderful. And we're all back tomorrow at 11 a.m. for our Divine Feminine Roundtable. So if you guys are wanting to connect in with us again, there's 10 powerhouse women tomorrow getting together, and Becky and I are part of that too. So you
Excellent.
can see us again tomorrow.
Hey, and next month,
Yeah.
August, whatever date that is in August, the
Yeah.
first Tuesday of August, I'm so excited because Reese is going to join us, and she's the one that teaches sacred geometry and in a very, very specific way. And she's been my great teacher for the past 3 years, and I'm so honored that she's going to be on here because she channels. She's a great channeler. In fact, she channels the whole program. She's like, I don't know anything about sacred geometry, and so it all comes through her. And so she's going to teach us. We'll probably do some meditation with, I would imagine, possibly the cube and how we can use sacred geometry to help our lives. So that's what we're going to do next time, and it'll be so fun because I can't wait for you to meet her.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait. And thank you so much, Becky. And we will get all of her information in the show notes before the end of the day today. And just thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's watching.
It was
Mwah.
awesome. Thank you. Bye. Love you
Bye.
guys. Thank you.